From personal blogs to Fortune 500 websites, the top choice for building a website today is WordPress. With a beautiful and intuitive interface, endless customization possibilities, and no lack of web hosting support, it is the Swiss Army knife of web publishing and development, powering an astounding 40% of all websites in the world. But do you know that this modern-day software juggernaut actually started out as a piece of abandoned blogging software? Join us as we uncover the incredible story of how WordPress came from seemingly nowhere to dominate the world of website building. Around the turn of the millennium, blogging was slowly catching on as more and more people gained access to the internet. However, it was not as easy as it is today. Back then, publishing a blog meant having to learn and write HTML and CSS code, then uploading all those files via an FTP program to a site like GeoCities or Tripod that will host and display the blog's content. The entire process was technical and clunky, getting in the way of actually writing content for an audience. Slowly, sites like LiveJournal and Blogger began popping up to simplify the content publishing experience by removing as much of the technical barrier as possible. However, content still couldn't be displayed according to how bloggers wanted. Blog posts had no titles and could not be filed under different categories, and raw HTML still had to be used to format text instead of using a rich text editor. That all changed in October 8, 2001. The company, 6apart, launched Movable Type as a blog publishing platform to address the shortcomings of sites like Blogger. Many of the major blogs quickly switched over to it, making Movable Type the most popular blogging platform at that time. Around the same time, another little-known blogging software appeared on the scene. It was called B2, sometimes also referred to as Epilogue. It was developed by Michel Valdrigui, a programmer on the French island of Corsica, who wanted to create his own vision of an ideal blogging software. Michel migrated his own blog from Blogger to his own B2 software in late June 2001. A few days later, the first version of B2 was officially released to the world, a few months before Movable Type had launched. Michel had coded B2 using the PHP programming language instead of the Perl language that Movable Type and many other software were using at that time. PHP is an easier language to learn than Perl, and also better performing for building dynamic websites, such as those of a blogging nature. Furthermore, Michel had released B2 under a GPL license, which, in simple terms, allows anyone to copy and change the software as they see fit. B2 also started gaining momentum after its release, and things seemed to be going well until Michel lost his job in May 2002. Michel struggled to find another job, and as time went by, his electricity was cut off, forcing him to move. He fell into depression and struggled with health issues, although he continued to work on B2. Eventually, the toll on his personal life was too great, and he disappeared altogether. His last blog post was in December 2002. With no news from Michel, B2 users started scrambling for alternatives. On January 24, 2003, Matt Mullenweg, a 19-year-old from Houston, Texas, wrote a blog post titled "The Blogging Software Dilemma," outlining his thoughts on forking the abandoned B2 project. Halfway across the world in Stockport, United Kingdom, a developer named Mike Little stumbled across Matt's post and reached out, offering to collaborate. Just like that, a partnership was born that would reshape the web publishing landscape. They decided to build on the foundation laid by B2, taking advantage of its open source license, the GNU General Public License, or the GPL in short. They would call their version of B2 WordPress, a name coined by Matt's friend, Christine Tremollet. Over the next few months, Matt and Mike would work tirelessly to improve and expand upon B2's code. On May 27, 2003, they released WordPress version 0.7. While it might not have looked like much, it included some key features that set the stage for a more user-friendly and powerful blogging platform. As WordPress started to gain traction, Matt's passion for jazz found its way into the project. He began naming major releases after jazz musicians, starting with version 1.0 Davis in honor of Miles Davis. This quirky tradition continues to this day, adding a touch of personality to each new version. And since humans remember names much better than numbers, it's not surprising to come across someone referring to a particular version of WordPress by its name rather than its version number. But what really made people adopt WordPress as a blogging platform wasn't due to the features that Matt or Mike added at that time. Rather, it was something more akin to divine intervention. Remember movable type? It was sitting atop the blogging software world at that time. In May of 2004, 6apart, the company behind movable type, made a decision that would send shockwaves through the blogging world. They announced a controversial licensing change. Suddenly, users who had been happily blogging away for free were told they'd have to pay up. Not only that, but they'd be charged for each additional installation. For bloggers managing multiple sites, this was a major blow to the wallet. The reaction was swift and fierce. The blogging community erupted in outrage, with prominent bloggers taking to their platforms to express their dissatisfaction. What followed was a mass exodus. Droves of disgruntled movable type users made the switch to WordPress, swelling WordPress's user base. The tables had turned. WordPress, once the scrappy underdog, was now hot on the heels of movable type. Capitalizing on the momentum at that time, WordPress version 1.2, or Mingus, was released a few days after movable type's disastrous announcement. Mingus was significant because it introduced the concept of hooks and plugins. Previously, any new features that bloggers or developers wanted to change or add to WordPress would involve copying and customizing the entire WordPress software. With every update of WordPress, the same process would need to be repeated again. It was error-prone and time-consuming and required significant technical know-how in WordPress's code. With the release of Mingus, developers no longer need to do that. All they needed to do was to create independent little programs called plugins that attach to the hooks provided by the WordPress software. There was little need to touch or modify the entire WordPress software for added functionality. Upgrades to WordPress would no longer be so stressful or time-consuming. Furthermore, it simplified the lives and boosted the productivity of bloggers tremendously as well. There was now little need to waste time learning how to code. If there's already a plugin for a feature they wanted, all they had to do was to install that plugin and get on with their work. But more was to come with the release of WordPress version 1.5, or Strayhorn, on February 2005. Strayhorn introduced the theme system, which drastically simplified the process of changing a site's look and feel. There was hardly any more need to tinker with code or engage a web designer. A beautiful and professional theme would simply be a few clicks of the mouse away. But the icing on the cake was that sites were no longer restricted to only displaying their blog posts in the traditional blog format. They could be made to look like actual magazines or news sites, and it would lead to more people flocking to WordPress. However, amidst all the growth and success with WordPress, cracks in the project were appearing behind the scenes, threatening to collapse the project from within. A few months after the release of Mingus, Matt dropped out of college during his sophomore year and moved to San Francisco. He had secured a position at CNET with the unique opportunity to develop WordPress part-time as part of his job responsibilities. This arrangement would allow him to pursue his passion while at the same time bringing in some much-needed money to support the project. However, WordPress was growing so fast that by early 2005, Matt was having trouble dealing with all the server hosting and other associated costs for the project. He desperately needed to find a way to make WordPress self-sufficient. He refused to sell out to venture capitalists or big corporations because he wanted WordPress to remain an independent project. Matt's first attempt, WordPress Incorporated. However, it would turn out to be a false dawn. Months before Matt's announcement, someone had discovered that WordPress.org was being used to host spammy articles. A blog post was written about it when Matt was on holiday and it caused a firestorm. The community mistakenly associated those articles with the newly formed WordPress Incorporated. Matt faced severe backlash from the community, who saw it as a betrayal of the platform's ethos. The furor died down only after Matt revealed the stark realities of supporting a free software project. Behind the scenes, Matt had been working for free, even using his own CNET salary to pay another WordPress developer. WordPress Incorporated may have failed, but Matt would not give up. He approached CNET with a proposal for a WordPress-based blogging network. CNET rejected him. Matt made a bold decision. Rather than abandoning the idea, he chose to build it himself. So Matt quit his job at CNET to focus on WordPress full-time. In August 2005, he purchased the domain WordPress.com, and by December that year, he founded the company Automattic, launching it with two key initiatives: Akismet, designed to combat comment and track back spam, and WordPress.com, a managed web hosting service where users could get a basic blog for free, but pay for upgrades if they wanted extra features or support. Automattic proved to be a success, and today is one of, if not the biggest, contributor of time and money towards supporting WordPress's development. Matt had finally realized his vision. WordPress was now fully self-sufficient and can remain an independent project. The open source nature of WordPress.org ensures continued development and improvement of the core software, while WordPress.com provides a steady revenue stream to support the project. However, amidst all the time, energy, and resources spent on finding ways to make money through WordPress, did Matt make the same mistake as Movable Type, turning away its users in disgust? As WordPress's online presence grew, Matt recognized a gap. How could he create a sense of belonging among users spread across the globe? The answer came in the form of WordCamps, where lines of code meet real-world connections. It all started in 2006, when Matt organized the first WordCamp in San Francisco. A group of passionate WordPress enthusiasts gathered, eager to share their knowledge. Little did they know, they were laying the foundation for a global phenomenon that would reshape the WordPress landscape. WordCamps were designed to be accessible to everyone, from seasoned developers to curious newbies. As word spread about the San Francisco event's success, WordPress users worldwide started organizing their own. The movement spread rapidly, with over 100 events held globally by 2010. These gatherings became a hub for innovation and collaboration. Developers, designers, and bloggers exchanged ideas, formed partnerships, and launched countless projects. At the same time, Automattic began courting large corporations like CNET and the New York Times, demonstrating that WordPress could handle high-traffic, content-heavy websites with ease. This push to attract enterprise-level clients proved that WordPress could scale to meet even the most complex demands. Despite the significant time and effort invested in community building through WordCamps and strategic partnerships with major corporations, development in the code had continued at an unbelievably ferocious pace, and a game-changer would emerge with WordPress version 3.0, or Thelonious. Released in June 2010, it came with 3 groundbreaking features that opened up a world of possibilities and solidified WordPress's reputation as the go-to website content management system, multi-site, custom post types, and custom taxonomies. With the multi-site feature, a single WordPress installation could host multiple websites. It simplified website administration tremendously and was a welcome addition that satisfied the needs of many universities, blogging networks, and large corporate customers. Next up was custom post types and custom taxonomies. Custom post types allowed developers to create entirely new content types, beyond just the standard blog posts and pages. And custom taxonomies allowed developers to classify their content outside the standard blog categories and tags. The magical thing about them is that they're completely transparent to everyday, non-technical people, yet simplified the work of developers tremendously. Suddenly, WordPress has turned into the Swiss Army knife of website building, capable of handling any type of content you could dream up. It was no longer just for blogs or news sites. It was now a full-fledged content management system that could power complex websites for businesses, governments, and everything in between. The impact of WordCamps and Automattic's enterprise outreach, coupled with WordPress' transition to a full-fledged content management system, was huge. By 2014, WordPress was powering a staggering 23.2% of websites worldwide. And by the end of that year, non-English downloads would surpass English downloads, showing just how varied its user base was. As WordPress grew from strength to strength, its competitors and developers naturally wanted a piece of the pie as well. And the actions of some of them would threaten to erode the rights of WordPress and its users. Software licensing might not sound exciting, but it nearly tore apart the WordPress community. At the heart of this battle was the GNU General Public License, or GPL, the foundation of open source software. Unlike commercial licenses typically associated with proprietary software that seek to protect the interests of businesses, the GPL license is commonly associated with open-source software that seeks to protect the interests of end users instead. The GPL does this by allowing anyone to freely use, modify, and distribute the software as long as they follow certain rules. One of those key rules is that if someone modifies a software and distributes their modified version, they must also make their changes available under the same GPL license. This means that anyone who receives the modified software will also have the freedom to use, modify, and distribute it. Another important rule is that whenever someone distributes a program that includes GPL licensed code in order to work, they must make the source code of the entire program available to the recipients. This ensures that users have the freedom to modify and distribute the entire program, not just the GPL license parts. And it is this latter rule that would lead to a series of battles with different corporate entities. Trouble had been brewing since mid-2010 when a popular theme called Thesis caught Matt's attention. DIY Themes, the company behind Thesis, argued that certain parts of their theme shouldn't be covered by the GPL. They claimed that design elements and CSS were separate from core functionality and could be sold under a different license. And they were legally correct. Nevertheless, Matt saw this as a threat to the principles that made WordPress successful. He believed themes were an integral part of WordPress and should be fully GPL compliant. This led to a showdown with Chris Pearson, the founder of DIY Themes, that played out across blog posts, Twitter, and even a live debate. The WordPress community was split with passionate arguments on both sides. Eventually, it was revealed that DIY Themes did copy parts of WordPress code and then altered it without giving credit or sharing that code, in effect, breaking the GPL license. The backlash against DIY Themes was intense, with users moving away from the Thesis theme in droves. It was a clear message. The WordPress community valued open source principles more than any single product. Just when the dust was settling, another GPL battle erupted in 2013. Matt called out Theme Forest, one of the largest marketplaces for WordPress themes and plugins, for forcing developers to sell themes with a split or dual license, meaning PHP and HTML code in a WordPress theme that integrates with WordPress would be under the GPL, whereas the license for the CSS, images, and JavaScript in the theme would belong to the creator. Matt hated this practice and called it packaging gymnastics. He felt that while it didn't violate the rules of the GPL, it violated the spirit of the GPL. This led to a ban on theme creators who sold their work at Theme Forest from speaking at WordCamp events. Once again, dividing the WordPress community. Some theme creators, however, defended this option because of piracy concerns. They were worried that all their hard work would amount to nothing if anyone was able to download their themes and redistribute it for free. One of the counter-arguments against that point was that piracy would be a problem, regardless whether a theme is GPL or not, as is evident in proprietary software. Eventually, the ban was lifted when Envato, the parent company of Theme Forest, allowed theme creators to license their themes under the GPL. So far, the challengers of the GPL were from vendors who profited off WordPress's popularity. But that was soon about to change. In 2016, Wix, a commercial and major website builder, was accused of using GPL licensed code from WordPress within their proprietary mobile app. Wix's CEO snidely admitted that they did use WordPress's GPL code and that WordPress does deserve recognition, but stopped short of releasing the code to their mobile app as required by the GPL license. The stakes were high. If a big company like Wix could get away with this, it could set a dangerous precedent. Once again, the WordPress community rallied behind Matt, putting pressure on Wix until they finally removed the GPL licensed code from their app, chalking up another win for WordPress. These series of high-profile battles between WordPress and different commercial entities would prove just how powerful and beneficial the GPL was in defending the rights of the greater WordPress community. Looking ahead, this once abandoned piece of software is poised to continue shaping the digital landscape by staying true to its principles since its inception, constantly adapting to emerging technologies and changing user needs, and its willingness to ferociously defend the rights of its passionate community. It is no wonder that WordPress has such a loyal and dedicated following. one that makes it the king of website building software. Thank you for watching.